Me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
Okay, just bear with me on this one because this is a little bit of a long one. But I've posted 2 other stitches because I've got a lot of ghost stories, but this one's up here because I also didn't experience it by myself. I was with a group of friends. So I'm going to be talking about a place called Crawford Road in Virginia. And this place was notorious among the teenagers. We're going back to I'm about 17 years old, and rumors spread about this place. Like, oh, this is one of the spots to go to if you want to get spooked out, and it's one of the haunted places in the area. So, think back 2016 summertime, okay? Me and my friends, we go out and we're like, you know what? Let's go head up this place. Let's go see if it's actually creepy. So it took us a while to get there, and this road has no streetlights. It is one of those roads where you need your brights on because, you can't see anything. It's just pitch dark. And there's woods on either side. And this bridge is on this road, and you drive under the bridge, and that is the spot that everyone talks about, is this bridge. So we get there, and we're already creeped out. One, because it's just completely dark. There's no lights, there's no nothing. And if you were to continue down that road, it would lead into a neighborhood, but it was still dark, still no street lights till a certain point. And so we get out of the car, and our dumb selves decide, you know what, let's go on top of this creepy bridge. And so on the top of this bridge is an old road that's no longer being used by the public. So we decided to just go walking on it because, why not? And there's this sign up there that had pew-pew holes in it. And we were just like, oh, that's so stupid. Someone came out here and, shot up the sign. And we were like, let's just continue walking in the dark by the woods. So we're walking around for probably 5 to 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden, the woods, they go completely silent. You know how during the summertime, the woods are just alive with sound? Crickets, birds, frogs. It's just really noisy. Cicadas, like there's just so much going on. Well, it was one of those times where we're all just talking, and then one by one we stopped talking because the woods got quiet. And my friend goes, why did it get so quiet? And we're all standing there, and then we hear to the left of us footsteps in the woods. Just feet away, we hear footsteps. So we start booking it the other way. All of us start running because we have absolutely no clue why the woods got so silent. Usually that is just not a good thing. So we ran all the way back to the top of the bridge, and we got back to the top of the bridge. Didn't seem like anything was following us. But then when we got to the car, we walked back down to get in the car because we're all spooked, and then we hear crying. Something was crying, and it sounded like the weeping crying, when you have like your hands over your face, like it's muffled crying. And we're all sitting there for a second. All of us are hearing this. It's not just me. And listen, I've seen enough horror movies, okay? I'm not going to be the stupid one. And neither were any of my other friends. We're like, yep, time to go. Let's get out of here. Let's go and get in the car. So we all pile in, and we start driving away from the bridge back home. And as we start to drive down this road, there's this truck that comes up behind us. And he's got his brights on, and he's tailgating us. And he is, like inches away from the vehicle we're in, and all of us are we're getting pissed off. We're like, oh my gosh, this guy's such a jerk. We tried to move over, and then he just moved over with us. Like, we were trying to let him around, and or her, we don't really know, and no, just being a total jerk. And then we reached the end of the road to where this the stop sign is, and then the lights behind us go off, and we're like, oh, finally, and this guy turned his brights off. And then we turn around. I'm not driving, but me and my friends turn around, and there's no truck. There's nothing. No truck, no lights, nothing. And this is a road that is forest on either side, okay? And it's one way this way, one way that way. There's nowhere this truck would have gone. So we're all freaking out at this point, because we're like, we heard footsteps in the woods, we heard crying, and then a truck was basically chasing us, and now it's just disappeared. So now we're really, we're freaking out. Like, as one should. I feel like this would be a normal reaction. But then, of course, we all end up getting home safe. The truck never reappeared. But this is where it gets crazy. We ended up doing a little bit of research when we got back home, because we were like, what the heck? What the heck did we just experience? Not only are we not the only ones that experienced a ghost truck, we also weren't the only ones who have heard crying. And the supposed crying is coming from something that had happened a long time ago, where there was a slave woman and her child was thrown off of this bridge intentionally by her owners. And then we found out that the crying is most likely like her, that's what they suppose. And then someone had jumped off of this bridge before. And then we found out something happened the day, or I should say the night, before we were actually there. We found out on the news the next day that someone had gotten murked with a pew-pew literally the night before we had gone there. Those bullet holes that we saw on the sign, that's what it was from. And to this day, we never went back there.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely...
Every time I tell somebody this story, they have the most horrified look on their face. And when I tell you, I have tried to record this video 10 times. And either the audio wasn't working or TikTok wouldn't keep my recording. So let's hope this one works, and I'm going to tell you what happened to me in 2022. So this happened when my son was about 5 months old. Him and I were sharing a room. Now let me say this first. He was sleeping 8 hours completely through the night. I was getting enough sleep. I was sleeping the best I've ever slept currently, and he's a toddler right now. So this is not sleep deprivation. I want to say that first and foremost. And there are other people who were involved, so let's get into it. I was about to go to sleep for the night, and I was scrolling on my phone, and I'm at my parents' house, by the way, at this point. So I roll over in my bed with my phone to face the direction of my bedroom door, which I had kept open before all of this happened. I hear somebody walking up the stairs, which I assume is my brother because he had lived there too at the time. But he stops at the top of the stairs, and he kind of just like peeks into my room just a little bit, and I know it's him because it's like his face and his height and his hair, like he had an afro at the time. That was the outline of my brother. And so I look at him and I'm like, what are you doing? And he doesn't answer me. He just keeps staring at me. And I say again, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you just staring at me? At this point, because it's dark, I could only see the outline of him or it moves in front, like right center in my door. And it's just staring at me. And I look at him and I'm like, Sam, what do you need? This all happened in 0.0005 seconds, okay? So as soon as I realized that is not my brother, I sit up in bed, like jolt up in bed. And as I do that, I'm still staring directly at whatever it was. It just disintegrates like sand into the air. I don't know how else to explain it. I sound crazy, I know. Just sand, just disintegrates and disappears. I don't go to sleep that night. I'm wide awake, freaked the fuck out. But I don't say anything until the following week. So at this point, I shut my bedroom door because absolutely not. I'm about to go to bed again. I'm scrolling on my phone and I roll over once again to face the direction of the door. This time, in the pitch black, it's the outline of my son's father. And at first, I was like, why are you just standing there? Because he was living with us at the time. And then I realized in my brain, Dios dad didn't spend the night that night. He's not supposed to be here. And how could he get in my house at 10 o'clock at night when everybody's asleep? It's the exact same thing. I grabbed my phone, I turned the flashlight on, but this time I saw like this, again, 0.005 seconds, just like this super pale face, no eyes, no nose, no mouth, but like this menacing feeling attached to it. And again, just like sand, gone. So at this point, I'm not a super religious person, but I feel like I needed some Jesus Christ in this moment. So I go to my parents, I tell them what's been going on. My parents were not a believer before this story. I've always had weird things happen to me throughout my life with paranormal stuff, and they just don't believe me. But I asked my mom to get one of her close friends, a close family friend, to come pray over my room because she's done that type of work for years. She goes and prays over people's houses who have spirits attached to them. So to her, it's just to like entertain me and make me feel safer. So the family friend comes over and she's like, I'm going to go pray over your room and see what's going on. And I was like, perf. She goes up there. She's up there for like an hour, for a very, very, very long time. But who am I to judge? I don't do seances. You know what I mean? I don't know. To sum it up with you, when she did come back downstairs, she talked to my mom for a bit and then she leaves. My mom told me that her friend told her that of all her years doing this, she's never walked into a room or a house and got instantly chills all over her body. And that's exactly what happened when she walked into my room. She said she prayed over it for that long amount of time. Whatever was there was gone. She rebuked it, I guess, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. But she said if it does come back, she like told me certain prayers to do to make it go away. My parents from that day forward are complete believers in the spiritual realm. I am as well. That was like so terrifying. I haven't seen it since. Please, Lord, that was the wrong hand, but you get it. Like, I don't want to see it ever again. But yeah, that's my terrifying story, and I don't have any explanations for it. I have so many other ones that also have witnesses to it, but this is already super long, so this is what I'm going to keep it as. But yeah, so that's my unbelievable ghost story.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
I made this recording 10 minutes. I don't know if it's going to take that long, but this story is a rabbit hole and it made me believe in the paranormal forever. My boyfriend and I had a spiritual attachment for 9 months. Started about a year ago when we went to see his family in South Carolina and go to a cemetery. We went with the siblings to play Find My Grave with a spirit box. Find My Grave is basically like you ask the spirit box questions and see if the spirit like guides you to their grave, basically gives you clues and whatever. So we start doing this, and all of a sudden we hear these music notes coming out of a spirit box that were going da-da, da-da, and that was kind of the spirit's answer as yes, you know. So like we would say, is your grave over here? It would go da-da, were you a man? Da-da. And then we were like, wait, were you a music teacher? And it goes da-da. So that was pretty crazy. We walked all around the cemetery trying to find this spirit, very active with us. And then all of a sudden, everything went silent for like 25 minutes. So then we were kind of like, okay, whatever, maybe this is BS. So we started to nickname this guy Music Man throughout this whole thing. So we, at the end, decided to leave. And we were like, okay, bye, Music Man. And after 25 minutes of silence, it goes, da-na. And we were like, holy crap. Is this recording? Okay. So a few days go by. We go home. I used to work in an art gallery, which I believe was haunted. So I turn on the spirit box. I was alone in the art gallery, and I was like, is there anybody here? Whatever. And the first thing that happens is Dana. So I felt a little unsettled, but I was like, okay, maybe there's something wrong with the spirit box. Like, this has just all been BS. Like, it's just like a malfunction in the spirit box or whatever. Until I go on another ghost investigation with a psychic that I trust, and I go with my boyfriend. Turn on the spirit box. Starts going, Dana. The psychic goes, I'm seeing 6 people in a cemetery going with a spirit box. I'm seeing like a really old cemetery. I'm seeing a lonely man. I'm seeing a lost grave. You have something with you. And we were like, whoa, how did you know how many people were with us? You're seeing a lost grave? And she's like, yes, you have someone with you. He really likes your energy. He died alone. yada, yada, yada. And we're like, oh God. And so during this time, the spirit box is going, Donna, 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 Donna. Okay. Fast forward to our next ghost investigation. We are in Griffith Park, and I have this on camera. I will post it again so you can see. So we're doing a ghost investigation. We hear the Donna, Donna, Donna over and over again. And then finally, the spirit box says, and I have this on camera, Music Man. He started to identify what we were calling him, his nickname. And I start crying. I get really emotional, and I'm like, you know your name is Music Man. How? And then he finally speaks for the first time, and he has this accent. And he goes, I'm proud of it. Over and over again, I'm proud of it. And he goes, family, and all this kind of stuff. And it made us really emotional. Yeah, okay. So here's the next thing. We do another ghost investigation. Okay? The Donna, Donna thing is happening. He also likes doing opera. He'll go, ah, ah. So he's like adding other music, but you know it's him. At this point, like, you know it's him. Okay? I don't even really know how to describe it. But anyways, he starts to send us a message. During this ghost investigation, and I have this all on camera, he says the number 34 at least 25 to 30 times. He keeps going 34, 34, 34, 34. And we're like, what are you trying to tell us? And he doesn't tell us what he's trying to say. Okay. So then the next day, I'm going on an Instagram live. I also have this on camera, and I turn on the spirit box, and I'm telling my audience what was going on with the 34 thing. And all of a sudden, in front of everyone on the live, he starts saying 34, 34, 34. So many people saw this happening, and we're like, what does this number mean? What is going on? I looked at plot lines at the cemetery we were at. I looked at codes. I looked at angel numbers, and I looked at everything, and I still haven't found the real answer to what 34 was, okay? But this gets even better, so just keep watching. At this point, I'm just using Music Man in my ghost investigations. I'm like, hey, can you see if there's another spirit? Like, can you bring them out and whatever? And can you protect us? Whatever. Okay. This is when it gets crazy. My boyfriend's looking for something for me for Christmas. And I love the Misfits. They're like one of my favorite bands. And he is at a vintage store. And in the back of a rack is this shirt. No context. Misfits font. And it says Music Man. And he got it for me for Christmas. But it was weird. Why was that sitting in the back? This lady said at the store that it's been there for a while. No one knows where it came from or what it is. I know there's like the musical Music Man, but it didn't look like one of those theater musical shirts, right? Okay, I have it. I'll show it to you guys. Okay, this is the shirt, Music Man. There's nothing, no more information about it anywhere on the shirt. It just says Music Man, okay? I go ghost investigating a store. I hear the Donna, and I'm like, hey, Music Man, like, whatever. And he goes, present, in his voice, in his, like, howdy voice. I'm going like, what? Like, what are you trying to say? And he goes, Christmas present. He literally said Christmas present. He is such an intelligent spirit. And I know you guys are going to start saying like, oh, he's negative, whatever, blah, blah. No, he never was. Like, he felt in a weird way like family. And I'm not trying to like sound crazy. I got info about him from multiple psychics, and they're like, no, he died alone. And like everyone I've told this story to feels like he was left on earth for some reason to learn a lesson, to figure out something, to be a part of something he wasn't a part of in his life. Like, he wanted to experience something. And now I think we went to the Clown Motel, and he was there with us. I have it all on camera too on my YouTube. And I'm like, oh, that's Music Man. And he's going, Donna, Donna, whatever. He's like very reactive. And then all of a sudden, after that investigation, he's gone. He hasn't talked to us since. And we're trying to wonder why, like what happened. And like sometimes we joke, we're like, oh, we miss him, whatever. And I mean, obviously, like, no, it's not good to like have an attachment around you all the time. But we wondered why, like, what was the moment? Like, why did he finally leave after 9 months of just trying to send us messages and being so responsive and being so aware of our lives? Like, what lesson did he learn? And that's what I'm still trying to figure out. And I don't care if you guys don't believe me or not, but this is a very real thing that happened to me, and I have footage for most of this to back it up. So if you're curious to learn more, or if you know anything about why this happened or about the number 34, like please let me know, because this is what made me believe in the paranormal. It was him saying Music Man on the spirit box, him sending us messages multiple times. The Christmas present thing at the end was just like so insane, and I'm still trying to just like figure it out, and I wish I knew the reason. But that's my story. Thank you for watching. If you watched this far, I appreciate it. And yes, this is the craziest paranormal story I have had so far.
Hello again, friends. As promised, part 4 in the morning. My name is Liera. I lived my own horror story for 3 years. Thank you for being here. Again, thank you for listening. Mel, stop. My dog's scratching the floor. Thank you for being here, listening, watching, commenting. Stop, Melly. Sorry. Quit. I wanted to give a little disclaimer first. I completely forgot to mention this, and I am sorry. I have not lived in this place in like 15 years. I realize some of the comments seem like people think like I just recently left. So I'm really sorry that I didn't make that distinction. So this is not something that's like super fresh in my mind or like super hurtful to me all the time or anything like that. So just wanted to get that out of the way. Where we left off was the first big event. I had heard the pounding up the kitchen stairs. So, unbeknownst to me, again, did not know these things until a few years after we moved out. The week after this happened to me, my parents were in their room. No one else was in the house this day. They had the door shut and they were getting ready. And as they were getting ready to leave, they heard come down the hallway the loudest stomping they have ever heard. Boom, 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 boom. The same exact thing that bolted down the hallway. Same thing I heard coming up the stairs, they heard going down the hallway, and it slammed into their door. My dad told me, after the fact, told me that the slam was so loud that he almost immediately knew it couldn't be a person. Same as I felt when I heard the slamming coming up the basement stairs. I knew, like, that's not a person. There's no way a person makes a noise that loud. And he said he felt the same, and he, ripped the door open and was ready for whatever he was going to find, but he kind of knew that it wasn't going to be anything he saw or could see, and that it definitely wasn't a person. So that happens to them in the meantime. Obviously, I don't know that. I continue on with the torment in my room, the night terrors, all of that. One day, I am going to school. It's been about probably four or 5 months at this point of, barely sleeping. Just my personality is really starting to change. I'm sleep deprived. I'm also a preteen, and that's a rough time period in your life as it is, as far as hormones go. I have a lot of mental health issues even now, and they kind of like hit me head on at that point at like 12, 13 years old. It was like getting hit by a Mack truck, and that Mack truck was like major depression and bipolar disorder. So I'm dealing with all of that. This house is making it worse. The no sleep's making it worse. And one day, the teacher that I had for first period, and so like first thing in the morning at school, that teacher that I had, I remember her bringing me into her office, and she was like, hey, just want to check on you. You seem really tired. Don't totally seem like yourself. Are you okay? I just want to be sure. And at this point, I felt so alone. I felt like nobody believed me. I felt insane. But for some reason, I just opened up to her and I just told her. And I'm like, this is going on at my house. This is what happens in my room. I know I sound crazy. Something made her ask me where I lived, which is really strange because I think if the roles were reversed and I was the teacher, I wouldn't have thought to ask. But she asked me, where do you live? And it's obviously, it's a landmark, so it's easy to say, the XYZ church parsonage. And I will never in a million years forget the look on her face when I told her. It was like she got white and just scared looking, and she was like, really? People live there? Like, I didn't know people lived there. I was like, yeah, people do, and it's me and my family. And I said, I just feel crazy, like maybe it's not happening. And she said, I will tell you this is like the weirdest coincidence in the world. She said, I'll tell you this, I spent one night in that house. So she was what was it? Like she had a group of some sort of like, I don't know if it was like Girl Scouts, something along those lines where they did like a sleepover. They used that house one night for the sleepover. It had been years prior. She said, I spent one night in that house and a lot of girls left and went home early and wouldn't even sleep at the house that night. And I will tell you that I personally would never spend another night in that house if somebody paid me. I remember at that point just like sobbing because it was like, finally somebody else knows what is going on and they believe me and they've experienced it and they're talking to me about it and they're being honest. And it was like the biggest relief in the world. I am forever so glad that I had that connection with that. Because otherwise I think that the mental health, oh my God, there's this bug crawling on my leg, scared the absolute shit out of me. But I think otherwise my mental health, as bad as it did still get, I think it would have gotten worse had I not had that one person that was like, no, I get it too. And I had that in my friends as well. My friends that have ended up coming over, they would be like, this place is creepy. This happened. I heard this. And so that was all validating as well. And made me feel a lot less alone. So I'm so thankful for them. So thankful for my best friend, Brooke, who saw things happen and never made me feel crazy, never made me feel alone, knew what I meant, experienced it herself, all of that. She's the best friend anybody could ever have. Okay, so I have that confirmed at school that is going on. Now, the thing happens to my parents. Now in the room at night, like I said, I sleep with the iPod. I try to not hear anything, but sometimes I still do, or the iPod dies, or whatever, what have you. If I'm still hearing things at night, I'm starting to hear like whispering. And I would try to convince myself it was outside the window, but I knew it wasn't. And it would start to get closer and closer, like towards my bed, just like, and I could never hear words, but it would just be like, and I could tell it was two different like voices, like whispering, but I could never make out words. But again, I would try to have the TV on, but then the TV would go to that Catholic channel, or try to have the iPod would randomly die, even though it had just been charged. Things like that start to happen. Then I'm starting to hear just like little footsteps in my bedroom at night, and then they'll kind of go out to the hallway, little like pitter patter footsteps in the hallway. So it's ramping up. I'm still having the nightmares, all of that. The last night that I ever spent in that room brings me into a chunk of the story that's very important, which is the bats. The bats that tormented a family. We had a few bats in the house at this point. Bats were never something that bothered me, never something that I was afraid of. My mom has always been terrified of them. I have not. I always thought her fear was silly. I didn't understand it. I will tell you, at this point in my life, I have a phobia of bats to the point that it actually negatively affects my life. In the summers, I can't sit outside. If I see a bat outside, I'm done. If one gets close to me, I am immediately having a panic attack. I am horrified, terrified. You can't even describe the level of fear I have over bats. But anyway, so we have a few up until this point in the house. And then I'm asleep one night. I wake up. Remember, the ceilings are really, really tall in this house. So I'm in my bedroom and I'm looking up at the ceiling. And I remember I'm just seeing this like shadow. Just going. And I'm watching it. And I'm like, what is that? And then it's starting to like dip down and back up and dip down. And the famous, oh, it gives me chill sound that a bat makes. Oh my God. I can't even take it. I hear that and I'm like, oh my God, it's a bat. The fear that took over my body, I went from not being afraid at all to like absolute phobia, paranoia, whole body jolted in fear over this bat. And I can hear it hitting the back wall. And I hear it kind of swoop back forward and then boom, hits the back wall. So I start to learn its pattern. I'm so terrified. I have my comforter over my head and I get myself to the end of my bed under the comforter. I'm like crawling down towards the end of the bed and I'm listening. And this goes on like a half hour. But when I finally hit it or hear it hit the back wall again, I jump off the edge of my bed. I bolt down the hallway. I fly into my parents' room. I'm like, there's a bat in my room, there's a bat in my room. I'm freaking out. My dad goes, he gets it, takes it outside. And I ended up sleeping on a mattress on the floor in their bedroom for 2 weeks. And then I moved into the bedroom that was right beside theirs. There was actually a door in the middle of the bedroom that led into each room. So I slept on the floor there. After this incident happened with the bat in my bedroom, the house was infested. And when I say infested, I mean there was a bat or multiple bats every single day. You could hear them in the walls. You could hear them in the ceiling. We had like the drop ceiling. You could like push the tiles up. You would hear them in there. They were hanging on the curtains. They were in our rooms. They were in the basement. They were in the attic. I'm telling you, these bats were everywhere. We had exterminator after exterminator after exterminator come in and tell us there is no signs of infestation in this house. There is no bat droppings. There is no evidence of any damage from bats. There is no evidence that there are bats here at all. I have looked it up. If bats are in your basement, the infestation is very severe. But yet everybody is telling us there's no way. I've looked it up too, and I guess this is a tactic that, I don't want to say that word out loud, the D word, the bad D word, demonic, presence or entities can use to like torment you. I am going to end this one here, but I still have something I want to keep talking about with the bats. So we will pick up that in part 5, which I am going to for sure try to get out, I would say this evening or a little bit later tonight. Thank you again for being here. See you in part 5. Hello guys, I am back again for part 5. My name is Liera. I lived my own horror movie for 3 years. First of all, thank you guys so much once again for all of the amazingly kind comments that have made me seriously cry. I appreciate them more than you could ever know. I think the sweetest people on planet Earth have found my videos and are commenting. I'm not ignoring anybody, I promise. I've had a very, very busy day, but when I get home, I'm going to my niece's 6th grade graduation. I'm so proud of her. She's the best. Once I get home, though, I will reply, answer questions, all of that. So, part 5, I want to kind of like talk about the holiday season or what I remember of it, because I really do not remember having like Christmas there. I don't remember where the Christmas tree was. I don't know if we decorated. I just don't remember. But I do remember this one specific thing, and that was that my one sister and her husband at the time came home to visit. They were living in California, and they came home to visit, and I was forbidden from telling them anything. I was not supposed to talk about the ghosts, nothing at all. The second, not even the minute, the second they stepped foot in that house, they said, what is wrong with this place? And my sister's very, very intuitive, just like me. Well, I am now. I wasn't really before this experience, but she's very in tune to things like that. And she was like, hell no. Something is not right in this house. And I'm just sitting there like, it's almost like I told everybody that, but anyhow, but they stay the first night. Now, keep in mind, I had moved my bedrooms. So the bedroom that I was previously in, the nightmare room, was like a guest room now. And they stayed in that the first night that they were home. And they both woke up in the morning and said they did not sleep because they heard footsteps all night. And they had the worst nightmares of their life, to the point, like, they seemed like shook, like they didn't even want to talk about the nightmares. And so once again, I'm validated because I knew what happened in that bedroom, and they refused to stay there. The rest of their trip, they did not sleep at our house. Now, another very crazy event that happened, I think it was around this time, like I said, my memory is so bad of all of this, but I think it was right around this time. Brooke, who I keep bringing up, she's my best friend, she went through a lot of this with me. She was over at the house. We were the only ones there. My parents were somewhere overnight, but my oldest sister and her boyfriend were supposed to be like watching us, but they went to a party, naturally. So her and I were there alone, me and my best friend, and we're in the living room. And those like fake candles that like they light up and you like have to turn them on, they look like candles in the windows. My mom had those in all the windows, and they were all on, and her and I were sitting there, and then they all turn off, and then they all turn on, and then they all turn off. Then they kind of started being random, and we, being kids, start messing around. Hey, turn that one on. Turn that one on. Turns on. We completely freak ourselves out. Another thing that happened, I don't know if it was that day, I think it was though, her and I had been upstairs, and the TV in that previous room that I had been sleeping in and was no longer in, the TV in that room, it was like a new TV, it had turned on randomly, and I went over and I turned it off, and she went into the room and she said, oh, just let them watch it, go ahead, turn it back on, and it popped on. I later learned that was one of the worst things we could have been doing, was like engaging and like joking around. But hey, how do you cope with your trauma? I make jokes. So anyway, so it's nighttime. Her and I are there alone. The candles are doing the thing, blah, blah, blah. And we are freaked out. I call my sister and I'm like, you guys have to come home. Please come home. We are so, so scared. And she had to have heard it in my voice, because usually she would be like, F off, no. And she was like, okay, we're on our way. We'll be there in 30 minutes. And I mean, we're like crying. Like, you know, we're just like, we're so freaked out. And they get there, and her boyfriend is joking around. And he's making fun of us, you know, like in a friendly way, but like he's like making fun of us, and he has a digital camera. This was like digital camera era. I wish so bad I had this camera. More than anything in the world, I wish I had this camera so I could get this picture. But he starts walking around the house. He's like, is there a ghost here? Snaps a picture. Is there a ghost here? Oh my God, maybe there's a ghost here. You know, he's going all around the downstairs. Maybe there's a ghost here. He goes into the kitchen and he takes a picture of the basement door and he says, is there a ghost here? And then I see him look, and he just gets completely quiet. And he's looking at the camera and he's not saying a word. And I was like, what? And he was like, I think we're just going to go to bed. And I knew something happened. I'm like, what? Let me see. Like, what happened? And he's like, no, it's nothing. It's nothing. It's a shadow. No, it's nothing. I looked at the picture, finally, and there was a full-blown face on the basement door. There was, you could tell, and it was like all like, it was like a big head. There were these big eyes, and the mouth was gaping open, like it was screaming, or it was like vicious, growling, but it almost looked like a scream. And I don't know what else it could have been, and we pretty much never spoke about it again. He brought it up like years later or whatever, randomly, and was like, yeah, that was weird. Like, he didn't like play it off like he tried to that night, but I mean, he grabbed something from the fridge and he jetted upstairs. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. That's why I said I wish so bad I had that picture. And I don't know that I have any pictures like that, but I am almost positive I have digital camera pictures that I had printed at that time of like things in the house, just like normal things, like my dog, Christmas that I don't remember, things like that. So I want to go through like all my photo albums. I'm gonna have to go up into my attic here and see what I have in like storage and stuff. I may have pictures up there, but I really want to be able to show you guys like some pictures of the inside of the house for sure. But yeah, so that was our experience there during the holidays. Right after that is when the torment started in my new bedroom that I had moved into. Keep in mind, remember, I had moved into my parents' room for 2 weeks, was sleeping on the mattress after the bat incident. That was shortly after my mom had that horrible nightmare in that room. I moved into a room right beside my parents, and it goes dramatically downhill from there, chat. We were cooked. But it's not funny. It is funny. It's funny looking back now. It's not funny, but it is funny. We'll get into that in part 6. I am pretty much going to start right there. From there, it's just really like kind of that kind of becomes the thing. Like the rest of the noises, the turning things off, it was like nothing at that point. So yeah, thank you again so much for being here. The fact that people care about this, it blows my mind. It makes me so I'm I love yapping. I love telling stories. It's like my favorite thing on earth. And the fact that people like want to hear that is just crazy to me. And I'm telling you, comments have made me choked up. Like I have started to cry. You guys are so sweet. And again, ask any questions, anything you want. Give me a follow, give me a like if you like this kind of stuff. There's a little more I could talk about too. I'm obviously going to finish this. This is important, but just throwing that out there. All right. Thank you again. I hope everybody's having a great evening. And go do something that makes you happy, and go give somebody a hug and tell them that you love them and spread kindness in the world. Your comments have restored my faith in humanity a little bit. So again, thank you for that. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Hello, my pals. I just got home from the graduation, and I'm very tired, and I cannot wait to go take a shower and lay down and watch my trashy reality TV shows that I absolutely love. But before that, I wanted to give you your show. Just kidding, but welcome to part 6. I am Liera, and I lived my own horror story for 3 years. Now, I am sorry if this disappoints any of you guys. I know in part 5 I did say that I'm going to start right in back to myself, like what started to happen to me in that bedroom when I moved into it. But I did think of 2 things I want to tell you guys first that didn't happen to me. This happened to my mom, so obviously I didn't know about it until about a year after we had moved out. And one happened to my sister, and she did tell me about it, but I just forgot until I was talking to my mom tonight, and she reminded me of it. So, sorry about that. I was talking to somebody real quick. The thing that happened to my sister, she did tell me about. Oh, and I just said, yeah, I remembered when I was talking to my mom, she reminded me. So when my sister, now I'm jumping forward just a tiny bit, but my sister ended up moving back with us. My oldest sister, not the one from California, my oldest sister. She was done with college, or she was doing her master's. She was working very hard. And she moved into my old room. Now, I did tell her, like, what had gone on, but she was like, it's fine, whatever. You know, she's a little bit like, I don't know, she's probably a skeptic, I would say at first. I don't think she is now, but so she was in that room. Same thing started happening to her. The nightmares, the hearing things, I mean, just the TV, it was a whole new TV and everything, turning on and off, just all night, blaring off. And this was going on for a few months. And the one night she spoke out loud and she said, you know, to the whatevers, the ghosts, the entities, whatever you want to call it, she said, you guys can do whatever you want at this point, but please, I just need a good night's sleep. Please just let me sleep tonight. That is all I ask. I need one night, just one night. She said that night she had never had worse insomnia in her life. She didn't get a second of sleep. She was up the entire night with just insomnia, torment, everything. So when she asked that, clearly it ramped it up, made it a million times worse. So I did just want to share that story with you guys. And then something that happened to my mom, like I said, I didn't know about this until later, but this was probably right around the time when I moved my room that things in the new room started to happen to me, which I'm going to get into, I promise. And yeah, so it would have been a couple weeks into that. My mom, she gets up every morning at like 4:30 in the morning, and she runs miles. She is dedicated. She's a freaking warrior. But so she's always gotten up like 4:30 in the morning. She leaves by 5. She runs. She said one morning she was getting ready to walk down the stairs and from upstairs, and she heard, "Mommy, Mama," and so she turned around and was like looking, and the voice said, "Mama, please don't leave me." And so she came into my room like, was that me? Now, I just say mom usually. Sometimes I call her mama, but very rarely. And I don't say mommy or anything like that. I was like 14 at the time. So she came into my room and she looked, and I was completely fast asleep. And as she was looking at me, she heard the voice from behind her, and it said, "Mama, please don't go. Please don't leave me." And she said she heard it clear as day, as though it was somebody right next to her talking, which gives me chills because I never heard like full sentences at all. She's the only one, I think, in the house that ever heard a full sentence being spoken. And the fact that she was the mother, that she was my mom, and this little voice is saying that to her, and she said it sounded a lot like me, which now I didn't know anything about like mimics and whatnot at the time, but I didn't know much about anything at the time actually, but now that I know about things like that, it kind of, I kind of think maybe something like that was going on. Like I said, I would hear like, hey, I would hear my name being whispered, things like that, but never like a full sentence. And she still left. That's the crazy part. I'm like, you want to piss this thing off? Like, why did you leave? I would have been like, you know what? Okay, I can skip a day. I'll just go back to bed. You're right. Mom's not going anywhere. But no, she left. And when she came home that morning, there was on the first floor where the bathroom was, on the first floor, there was a window in that bathroom, which is very odd because it went right to a parking lot, but it was like kind of like a frosted type window. So you couldn't really see in or out, but you could make out, like if somebody was standing there, you could make it out. And when she was done running and was running back up to the house, there were little handprints on that window, and she saw a little shadow in the window. When she went inside, the handprints were still there. And I think I mentioned this in maybe part 1 or part 2 about, I showed you guys the window when I was showing you the house from the parking lot, and I said that was the window that little handprints would be in. That day started the handprints. Now keep in mind, at the time, I knew the handprints were happening, but I did not know she heard the voice. I did not know she saw the handprints first, along with the little shadow that she saw as well. Learned about that later. But her hearing that voice, that's something that's so chilling to me, and obviously it didn't happen to me, and I never heard anything like that, like the full sentences or anything, but it really, like, that to me, that's just like something is clearly very powerful there. And the fact that it is like now mimicking people, because I would hear, like, when I would hear, like, you know, just like little words or whatever, it would always sound like somebody I knew or somebody that was living in the house or was in the house. So I just wanted to give you guys that tidbit. I promise you I'm going to upload tomorrow part 7, and I will get into the main portion of this, because I promise there is more, there is a lot more, and there is like a main event here, and I want to talk about it with you guys so bad. It's going to be a little bit difficult for me at times. Like I said, some of it's like a little bit hard even 15 years later to talk about, but we are getting there. But I just wanted to share those two stories. Again, thank you beyond words for listening to me. I am so happy. I'm so thrilled. And I hope everybody has a good night. Sleep tight. Please don't be scared. My niece told me she's been watching these and then she was scared to go to bed. So if this is scaring you, don't watch it. Okay. Good night. Bye.
Hey guys, my name's Kristen, and if you're new to this playlist, I lived in a haunted dorm while I was in college, so feel free to scroll down and watch the other parts before you watch this one. So a couple of you have asked about the ghost that I saw, not the poltergeist that lived in the main dorm that I was in that loved to prank people, which I realized yesterday. I was talking to my husband about it, and he was like, you do realize that almost all of these pranks were pulled at about 3 o'clock in the morning, except for the one where it, blew me by. I was like, yeah, you are right. It kind of is that sort of witching hour time that people talk about, a lot of hauntings happening late at night. So this particular encounter with the ghost happened in the building next door, which is the one that had a girl that was unalived, according to local legend and local records, by a disgruntled boyfriend or fiance, like back in the 1950s. So this particular, and I am not the only person that has seen this ghost. She's been seen before, and some people who have lived in that building have actually commented on this video and talked about when they have seen that particular ghost or seen her looking in the window, or, et cetera, so on and so forth. So I, as an RA, have to check rooms, or I had to check rooms when people left for like holidays and things like that, so that they could make sure nobody left like nasty stuff in the refrigerator that would stink up the building while they were gone, etc., so on and so forth, that no one had a cat or something that we didn't know about. Or if people checked out, mid-semester, then we would, I have the hiccups, we would go through and just check off the rooms and make sure that they didn't leave any damages, holes in the wall, that kind of thing. So we did this in pairs. So one person would be in the room, the other person would be in the hallway, like as the person in the room is calling out like repairs or whatever, or if everything's good, you just go down the checklist as you go from room to room to room. So I'm in Cotton Hall. I'm helping do room checks at the end of like semester 1. So it's December. It's cold outside. And so I'm listening to the person that's inside the room and I'm checking off the checklist when I see somebody out of the corner of my eye just walk by me going down the hall. Well, this is weird because there are a few people who stay in the dorms over the holidays, but the dorms are closed, meaning that no one is supposed to be staying there because even the RAs are going to go home over the Christmas break. So at first I was like, oh, no big deal. And then I went, wait, who is that? Because everybody left for the holidays yesterday. So I turn around and right there in the hallway, standing like about 8 feet from me, is a ghost. And it's clearly someone who's like out of time, right? They don't fit in this time frame. She's wearing like a house coat. Her hair is done up in rollers. And I guess the only way to explain how she looked is she was kind of faded. Like she wasn't the same, like an old piece of film or photography. So I'm standing there like, shook. And she just smiles, waves at me, and then walks through the wall.